Hi, everybody. It's Agnes, and I have got a very, very special interview today, and it's with Amber. Hello, Amber. Welcome.
Hi.
Amber, can you just tell people where you are in the world?
I'm in Florida. Woo!
Okay,
Southwest
nice.
Florida.
Lovely, lovely. Now, I want to just give a little bit.
Paradise. It's beautiful out here.
It looks stunning. It looks stunning. I want to give people a little bit of a background.
Mm-hmm.
You and I had done an interview about how you had remanifested back your specific person who is the father of your children. And then as we did the interview, I hadn't uploaded it yet. And then the whole thing fell apart again. So we didn't actually go to air with that interview. And it's so interesting because so much has happened in that time. So I don't know. Do you want to go back to the beginning of wherever you want to start, where the first breakup happened, and then what happened from there?
Yeah, sure. So, I met Bruce and, it was awesome. Instant fell in love. We were like inseparable, just the best of friends. It was really amazing. And then, I didn't know much about relationships. I think I was like 23 at the time when I met him. I'm 30 now. I'll be 31 this year. So it's been quite a few years we've known each other. We have two kids together, and we had our daughter, and she was probably like almost two. The first up, and I do remember thinking thoughts like, he's not doing enough to help me. He's not doing this good enough. Very negative, like habitual. I would always like see the things he wasn't doing, and I didn't realize anything about manifesting. I didn't know anything about law of attraction or how my thoughts create and how when you focus on things they expand. I didn't know any of that, and so I do believe those thoughts created the breakup. And fast forward a few years, we had co-parented okay together. We had very ugly fights, as I know some people do when they separate and they have children, and they have to continue to talk to each other and continue to have a co-parenting relationship if they're together or not. So many arguments, ugly fights, disagreements, um, and so I initially was really just looking for a way to make things better between us. I think I was just really tired of having a relationship with him, and a lot of bad things were happening in my life at that time too, when I came to realize, the law of attraction and how my thoughts were creating. And it was crazy how it came to me. It was almost like the tragedies in my life brought me to of realizing my thoughts create. And so that is how I started my journey with law of attraction, because I was like, I really got to figure out life. I really got to figure this out. And then I had heard, when I looked at your channel, I found your channel, I heard somebody on one of the interviews say, the common denominator was me. And I was like, oh, that really hit me. Because it's like, oh, look at, these continual patterns in relationships. And it's like, why do I keep seeming, even if it's a different face, why do I keep seeming to date the same person? And they have these same behaviors as the previous relationship. And why does this keep happening to me? And it was like, I'm the common denominator, and I didn't realize that. And then when I first emailed you, I'd really like to fix the relationship I have between me and Bruce. I'd like to see, our children happy, and I'd really like us maybe to get back together, if that's a possibility, because I knew I still loved him in my heart. It was just, I never thought that we could ever go back to being together. I never thought we'd even go back to being super in love and romantic. That the thing was, is I had that belief in my head, like, well, even if you do fix things between him you know, you guys, like it's just not going to be the way it was before. It's not going to be that romantic, loving relationship that I dreamed about when I was like a little girl, you know?
Mm.
And so that was a hard belief to really overcome, you know, and I remember, you know, reattracting him back and going through coaching with you and giving you updates like, oh, today we had lunch. Oh, today like this happened. And so like, you know, I would email you back and forth, and you know, your emails really were like a wake up call, because I realized a lot of the things I was doing and putting pressure on him and like trying to make it happen and like, you know, trying to force it sort of like, you know, not really understanding self-discipline and like letting him come to me naturally and just letting it happen, versus like I think we get like excited and worked up and you get that anxiety when you're trying to, you know, reattract that special person, because they give you that anxiety. They text you or they call you or they like your pictures, or whatever on social media, and you get like anxiety in your head. Oh my God, is it happening? I like beat it up almost. And so I felt like I had to really learn how to control that. And so when he had come back into my life, the relationship was really there was a lot of cracks in it. And you know, it was hard for me to accept and to let things be. And I was still really learning about Neville. And when you told me to study the playlist, Everybody's You Pushed Out, I mean, I must have listened to that playlist over 8 times, because I really wanted to
Mm.
understand what it was that I was doing, you know, mentally, like in my head, in my conversations with myself about him, like, you know, which I understand now is like, oh, you know, what is he not doing, and why isn't this happening fast enough, things like that, you know. And I know that you were with me along the way for a lot of that. And you know, we had started hanging out more, we started spending more time together, he started inviting us to eat, like just normal stuff, coming to the playground with us, asking what the plans were for us today, and stuff that was exciting me. But you know, at the same time, I know there was a lot that we had to deal with, you know, and a lot of negativity, a lot of ho'oponopono prayer, a lot of that, you know. And so the second time around, it was a really rocky. We were arguing again. It was like almost a pattern again, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? This isn't the relationship I wanted to create. And it's almost like you forget, because you're so used to seeing what's in front of you. That was really
Mm.
one of my issues. I was so used to seeing what was happening in front of me, I kept reacting to it, and therefore it kept happening. It was like a pattern. It just kept remanifesting. So there'd be like an argument, or there'd be like some kind of moment between us that I didn't like what Bruce said, and then like it would, you know what I mean? I would react, and then I get fear and anxiety, and then it was a pattern, and then he
Mm.
pushed me away again, and then, you know, and so yeah, I really had to learn how to stop reacting to, you know, what was happening in front of me, you know, and stop reacting so much to what was, you know, moment happening, and really just continue to live in the end of what I wanted. That was really hard for me. And then a couple of times I remember just practicing to see if living in the end would work, and when I saw it working, I was very very shocked, like stepping in moments, like, oh my gosh, I'm really here in this moment. I remember like visualizing this, you know, and it's
Mm.
happening. And so it was surreal very surreal, because you know, you almost don't see it coming, and then you're in it, and you're like, oh, I remember, you
Yeah.
know, being in the end for this moment. So it took a lot of work, and it took a lot of mental discipline and a lot of reading and a lot of reprogramming the assumptions I had about how Bruce would act, how his behavior would be, how my behavior would be towards him, you know, and the stories I told myself about him, like I can't trust him, you know, just those normal stories, you know, many of us have hangups about with our specific person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, when we did the interview that you guys had got back together, and then I hadn't uploaded it, and then you messaged me and said, "Oh my God, the wheels have fallen off again. Don't upload the interview because I feel like it's not
Mhm.
relevant." What actually happened in that breakup, you think, when you look back, to break that again?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the wheels had fallen off because it was almost like um I think when I look back at it now, it was almost like I was trying to force be the way I wanted them to be. And then he was only behaving in the ways that I assumed he would behave. So, like, I can't trust him. And then I'd be like, oh, worried about him messaging other girls or him being interested in other girls. And like me feeling like I don't really know this person, like, and me thinking, like, oh, well, the Bruce that I knew him when we were so in love with each other is gone. He's no longer that person, obviously. Like, look how he's behaving. And
Yeah.
of course, he would affirm that to me because that's the thoughts I was thinking. And so I think it fell apart because, first of all, like, I think I was poking at that cake too hard. I was just, I remember having a lot of fear and anxiety when we had gotten back together at that time. You know, he was living and he asked me and the kids to come stay with him at his apartment. And I did have a lot of fearful thoughts at that time. It was a very like fresh, beginning for us. And I think that it really screwed up how I wanted it to be. And plus I wasn't very clear on what I wanted from him. I don't think I was clear enough. I don't think my self-love was strong enough to say, this is the way I'd like the relationship to go. And I kind of just let him take the wheel without really, I guess feeling like I could, step into myself and being like, this is what I want, and being a team, being like a unit, like making decisions together and feeling like, what a loving, healthy relationship is. I don't feel like that's what we were doing. It was like we were both very unsure about each other. And he was only reflecting back to me every fearful, negative thought that I was thinking.
Yeah.
And he was just acting upon that way, And
Yeah.
so he definitely got sick of it after a while, and so did I. And so again, it was like, it fell apart again because, he wants this and I don't. And I want this and he doesn't. And you know
Yeah.
so I think that's why. And then the arguments started happening and I'm like, what is going on? Like, no, this is exhausting.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I
Yeah.
quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is
Mhm.
exhausting. It is.
Yeah.
And you know what, Amber? It's like you go through this phase where you finally understand when that keeps happening. I'm not trying to fix a relationship problem. I'm learning to really let go of my old fears, my anxieties, and my projections onto the other person. If I work on that and stop trying to fix the relationship, then it clicks into place, because we're trying to fix the outside relationship rather than dealing with, I'm afraid, I don't trust, he's not this, he's not that. You don't understand in the beginning that it's a self-fixing job, not a relationship fixing job. And that, I think, is one of the biggest lessons of all of
Mhm.
this.
Self-discovery. And it is hard to accept because it's personal responsibility. And I know that's not common today in a lot of people, especially in a lot of young people. It's like we don't want to accept the responsibility that it's our own way of thinking that
Yeah.
creates these things. And so, it really makes sense. And it is a hard pill to swallow. But once we realize that, I mean, it's a wonderful thing because we can change it and create
Mm.
it however we want to.
Yeah.
And, for me, I really did want the loving, committed, trusting, healthy, fun relationship that I always dreamed about when I was like a little girl, you know,
Yeah.
which was really what I wanted. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to settle for less. And
Yeah.
it was almost like I was like demanding it from him. Like, I want
Yes.
this kind of relationship. I want this, like, you know, and
Yeah.
if you don't act like that, well then, you know, forget you, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. We do that, don't we? We
you know,
do.
and just, if you
Mm.
don't behave the way I want you to, oh, well, I give up, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm done, you know,
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. So what did, okay, just
Mhm.
to,
And as Neville says, you have to, sorry, I'm in the parking lot of the gym, but lots of people driving by. But I was gonna say that it's like Neville says about taking off the old man. You know that one saying. I
yeah,
forget exactly how
it
it
is the
goes,
old man.
but it really is, because what happens is I realized I recognize my thoughts creating a pattern. Like I would recognize I forgot, I would forget that I'm creating that. Like I would have to tell myself out loud, like, stop, stop, like, stop, in the middle of me in my head having a thought and meditating on it and like going back and forth around in my head about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, stop. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing? You're the creator. You gotta stop. Like, you know, or else you're going back to the old habitual thoughts. You're going back to the old pattern of how you used to think, you
Yeah.
know. And so I really had to realize that and be like, you know, I shouldn't be thinking thoughts like that, you know. And
Yeah.
it was a tough thing to overcome, I
Yeah.
guess, you know. Even
Yeah.
Neville says it, you know. He says it in one of the books I'm reading right now from him, talking about you know, it sounds so simple, but it's hard. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It is.
Because we're
So
creatures of habit.
we're
We're creatures of
creatures of
habit.
habit. Yeah, we
Mhm.
are. So
Yeah.
when you went through the second separation and then you and I had contact again, you really bumped up certain practices and things at that time. So what did you do?
Well, I did a lot of Ho'oponopono, and I did, you know, your self-love meditations. I always love those. They would really relax me in the morning, and sometimes I do them like 3 times a day, like different ones throughout the day. And sometimes I do different ones like money affirmations or health affirmations, and you know, anything that I could do to a good mixture of healthy affirmations. And you know, those help ease my mind quite a you know, and all the I love myself and all the good affirmations that you have on your channel and on your meditations. I would do those a lot. And even cleaning, I would like repeat them. It was easy to do that driving and cleaning. It was almost like when you're cleaning or driving, you zone out and you're not
Yeah.
thinking so much, and you can concentrate on affirmations that you can
Mm.
say to yourself, and your conscious mind is listening.
Mm.
And so I think that helped with love and recovering from the second separation, and realizing that you know, I just had to fix things on my own. And I think the main thing that really helped me was like remembering just to live in the end and stop trying to mess with the middle. Reacting. Stop reacting to the middle, because that's where things would spin out of control, you know. And then I listened to a lot of this guy on YouTube called Craig Kenneth, and he is a relationship counselor who's been a psychologist for years, and he
Okay.
deals specifically with breakups. So I strongly encourage anybody that's really hurting and in pain and in a dark place, or maybe is very sad, as well, because I got so many good things from your coaching, and I also got a lot of reassurance and like, okay, what I'm feeling is normal, and I'm not the only one that is, you know, feeling like this, because it does help to get that perspective. And you know, it was very good to hear that. And also just continuing to read Neville and having faith in the unseen was
Yeah.
really something I really had to hold on to, and just really thank God, like, for getting me to this point now where it's a totally different relationship and something I never really knew and never really, like, it's like I wanted it to happen, but I wasn't always for sure knowing, because until you like get that manifestation, it is hard to believe, you know?
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
It's like your believability has
Mhm.
to go through stages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, I really like there was another guy that I listened to who is very strictly Neville Goddard. His name is Joseph Ally. And he is very much like your teachings, very strictly Neville Goddard based. And what he would encourage is, if you don't believe that you're the creator of your own life, just test it yourself. Like Neville says, test it on your, but he would encourage it for little things, like writing a list of 10 things or so, 5 or 10 things. You know, today I manifested a coffee. I got a phone call from an old friend. Somebody told me I looked gorgeous today, you know, and
Yeah.
just look at it throughout the week and see how much of it manifests, those little
Yeah.
things. And then you start to realize, wow, okay, I guess this isn't so crazy after all, you know.
Mm.
Maybe, you
Yeah.
know, and it restores your faith. It restores your
Mm.
faith in knowing that you're the creator. Because it
For
is
sure.
hard to accept and it is hard to believe sometimes.
It is. It is. Wow, this is so
Mhm.
so great to hear all this after your long journey. Now, you and I were talking about before we started recording where you're up to now and what you had imagined and visualized with Bruce and what he's actually doing now. So can you share a bit about that? Because that's
Mhm.
quite funny.
I know. Well, you know, I remember when we first started talking, I was very unsure and, you know, had some trust issues, jealousy issues, and the tables have turned. The tables have turned. And so now it's amazing how much it has changed. I mean, he's like bringing me flowers. He's very quick to apologize when he does something wrong. And I am too, but it's so refreshing to like have the reciprocation and being like, okay, and for him to try harder and him just constantly affirming to me like, you're so beautiful, you know, just little things like, oh, you don't need makeup, you're just gorgeous, and you're I love you're my woman, and just like romantic things that I was like, oh, I love it. Like when I hear it now, it's like, and he's just so different now, and it's like, it's amazing. It feels good. It's such a good relationship now. It's I never dreamed it would be this good, you know.
Mm,
It's better than expected, and it's really amazing. It
yeah.
really is amazing.
Mm,
And you know, I think it had to do with you know, your self love is good, but I know that there's people out there that manifest things even in a negative mindset. Really believe it's solely because when somebody lives in the end and they're not holding so much resistance on it and wondering, when is it going to happen, when is it going to happen, like, you know, I know that does happen. I mean, I've been through it myself, like, when is it going to happen, when is it going to happen, and you know, now it's just an amazing, healthy, wonderful, trusting, transparent relationship. And I actually remember saying affirmations like that, like, I am so happy and grateful I'm in a loving, committed, trusting, romantic relationship. And I would say that like over and over again, even if it wasn't happening, because it definitely wasn't happening a year ago. It wasn't like that.
yeah. Yeah.
So now it's definitely different. And I would say
Mm,
my biggest success is not just to having your guidance and your coaching on the channel and all the videos you've shared, and all the knowledge you've shared. You know, it's amazing, I think. But really studying Neville and really learning to just live in the end. I just, before I go to bed at night, I will drift off into sleep, like, and I would count backwards from 300, like 299, 298, and you don't get to zero. I mean, you drift off into sleep, like, you know, in and out of consciousness. And when you're kind of in that sleepy state, is the best time to visualize something you'd like to see happen in your life, because
yeah.
you're not fighting your thoughts. so much, you're not fighting with yourself so much. So
Yeah.
it's something I really helped a lot, just
Mm.
trying to live in the end when I was in a very relaxed state really helped me believe that it would happen because I pictured it so many times in my head, and just affirming to myself and calming myself and
Yeah.
self-soothing, in the meantime, and being patient and
Yeah.
realizing to trust and let go.
Yeah.
It takes self-discipline. It takes self-discipline. No, I'm not gonna, snoop around my person's, social media page. I'm not going to demand things of them. And I'm not gonna push them when they're not ready. And,
Yeah.
naturally, as you had said to me in many emails, letting it unfold naturally.
Yeah. And that's the hardest part.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It definitely is. And and when you want something so much, I think that's why it's so hard because,
Yeah.
we're emotional beings. We are emotional beings, and you crave love and you miss the person that you had that connection with, and it's normal to feel that way. And I think
Yeah.
a lot of us are very hard on ourselves. We put a lot of pressure on ourselves in this whole thing. And manifesting is supposed to be fun and exciting and
Yeah.
something you should look forward to versus like, you know, oh, okay, I vision it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think
Yeah.
because there's a lot of stuff on YouTube about instant manifestation and quick 21 days, 7 days, 14 days. I think that puts pressure on people and
Mhm.
then they feel disappointed. Why can't I do that? And it, like, for a lot of people, it doesn't work that way. It is you've had 3
Mhm.
tries at this. I've had 4 or 5 relationships. Like, you have
Tries.
to learn and again and again and again learn. So, yeah,
And you have to continue to learn.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost,
It
Amber, the
doesn't stop
more,
once you get your person back.
no. And if anything, the more you learn, the more you realize with humility how little you really know.
Oh, yes. I feel like I've barely scratched the surface.
Yeah,
I feel like I really have.
me too.
Mhm.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's a humbling
And you're
process.
like the godmother of manifesting. Yes, it is humbling because,
It
like
is.
I said, it's a hard pill to swallow when you see things in front of you and you're like, I don't like this. Like, why is this
Yeah.
happening to me? And
Yeah.
why is my person doing this? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
why do I keep houses I don't like? Why do I keep
Yeah.
working with people I don't enjoy working with? Or,
Mm,
whatever the situation you'd
mhm.
like to change in
Yeah.
your life with you and your self-reflection.
You
hmm
know what's
And
so
if we could just
great?
pinpoint the thoughts, yeah.
Yes. What's so great is your children have parents that are together because of the work you've done.
Woo! Amen, sister.
I
Thank
mean,
you.
that's so brilliant because a lot of people split up and then that's it for those kids. They never get the experience of their mom and dad together. You have actually saved your children a heck of a lot of pain and suffering because you've managed to resurrect this. It's brilliant.
Yes, yes. And that was something I really dreamed of for my children as well because they really love, their dad. They really loved him. And even though we had a healthy co-parenting like relationship, most of the time, I mean, I would find myself missing him and, realizing that no relationship is perfect. And you have to really cultivate your own self-love and self-happiness, and then what you bring to the table is more love and happiness into the relationship. But if you don't have that and you're seeking it from somebody else, it's a lot of pressure to put on somebody to do that for you, and they can feel it energetically
Mm,
speaking. And so when you fulfill yourself and your own love and realizing your own worth and realizing you have to be okay with somebody breaking up with you at any time, you know and that does take self-love because what if my person you know, heaven forbid, you know, dies, and then what? Am I supposed to be alone forever? You know, and it's like you
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah.
But the important thing is that, you know, I teach my daughter all the time. You know, she's 6, gonna be 7 in November. I teach her about manifesting and affirmations, and I tell her to live in the end of her dream horse and visualize herself petting this horse, and what color is the mane, and how the fur feels, and you know, the warmth on their wet nose and stuff. You
Yes.
know, I tell her to think about those details and how it's gonna feel when she finally has her dream horse. And I do this in front of Bruce at night, and he is on the same page, you know. And it's funny because when I took this journey, I did not realize that he was also into manifesting, and he was also into the law of attraction. And it was really it was really funny to see that. I was like, oh, okay, he knows about this
Wow.
too. You know, so
Wow.
he loves it. He encourages it for our kids, and it's a really good thing to
Mm.
encourage, I think, because you know, now we have opened up a whole new page and a whole new chapter in our life. And definitely for our kids, I mean, they're so spoiled now, and they're so happy we're together, and you
Yeah.
know, they just have a blast with us. And you know, we're
Wonderful.
really a good team. That's also something I really intended for the relationship. I wanted us to be a very good team.
Yep.
You know, and he's so helpful now too, much more helpful. And like recently he come into the kitchen, he's like, do you need help with anything? I'm like, oh, I think I've cleaned up for the most part. He's like, well, I just don't want you to think I'm one of those guys that doesn't do anything in the relationship or doesn't help out. And I was like, oh, I know you do a lot for us. I appreciate it, you know. But it was very nice to hear that he's
Wow.
always asking if I need help, and you know, trying to do the dishes or pick up the mop or whatever, or help out with the kids. And
Wow.
that's a really good thing. I really, really wanted to manifest us
Mm.
being a good team. And yeah, and not just like demanding or expecting, like, why don't you
Yes.
ever help me with this, murder murder murder,
Yeah. Yeah.
nagging, and that doesn't work. I don't nag anymore. If I see something I
Yeah.
don't like, I say, all right, I'm in the end about what I want now.
Yeah. That's
You know.
it. That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that hands-on hips thing that women do around
Yeah.
men. And if like, and they're constantly projecting, I don't get enough help. He doesn't do anything around the house. So you're projecting all that instead of projecting, we're
Mhm.
a good team, we're a good team, we're a good team. That one shift can create a really a
Mhm.
household that just works. That's brilliant.
Right. Right.
That's
Yeah.
so
There's no
brilliant.
need to spend energy or time on the unwanted when you can just live in the end of what you'd like. If you see
Mm.
something that your partner does or doesn't do and you'd like that to change, push up against the unwanted. It only draws it faster to you, you know?
Yeah.
So, like Mother Teresa said, I'll never go to an anti-war rally. You know, invite me when there's a peace rally. And it's the same concept even in this detail of relationships. Why would I push that? Well, you never help me. Nag, nag, nag. But when you have this knowledge, you don't have to do that. You can step back and say, okay, you know, I think I'll just in the end I'll live in the end tonight of what I'd like to see
Yeah.
unfold instead. You know, I'd
Yeah.
like to intend for something different. I think I'm going to
Yeah.
go that route, which
Yeah.
saves a lot of time and energy, saves
Exactly.
a lot of frustration. If you do nag, you're going to find out that they're only going to reflect back to you the feelings that you are projecting out, which is, oh, you don't do this, you're not, um, you know, and they're just going to reflect back to you the negative thoughts that you're projecting out.
Yeah. Exactly. It's really simple, really. It's really simple. Once you know, once you know,
Mhm.
once you know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Once
that's
you
brilliant.
know. Yeah, there was a video I watched, this guy on YouTube, um, his name is Hans Wilhelm. Very good. I love his videos.
Yeah.
Very good. And he talks a lot about like spiritual knowledge, and I really loved listening to one of his videos. It was the law of projection, the law of projection, and I would highly recommend anybody, you know, maybe feeling like they're up against a wall or they're just not understanding, they're not getting it. to look at that video from Hans Wilhelm, The Law of Projection, because it's not
Okay.
that long, and I really like it because it's animated. It's very he will draw out cartoons
Yeah.
while he's speaking to the viewers on YouTube about the law of projection, and he will do doodles, and that's why I liked it, because I was like, oh, this is nice. It's very artistic, but it's a visual, and I'm a visual learner, so for me, I
Yeah.
really loved it, you know.
Yeah. I'll put the link down below. I'll find it and put the link down below for people to have a look. Oh, this is so, so good.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
yeah,
You know how we were talking a bit before
yeah,
too about once you get into a place where you feel I am loved and I am first best, sometimes the other person can go into their I'm second best. And you and I were discussing how weird that is, because when you've been the second best feeling person, it's quite bizarre when all of a sudden the tables turn.
right, right, because I feel like my self-love is very on point. And I realize all the wonderful things to love about myself, and just cultivating that and doing things for myself, and never deferring from the things that you love, which is, for me, it's like, you know, working out, reading, video games with Bruce. We play games together all the time now, which is fun. It's like our bonding time, and
Yeah.
but doing the things you love and really just taking time to take care of yourself, and those things are wonderful to do. And now it's funny because me feeling first best, sometimes I feel like he's the one that gets insecure a little bit, or maybe thinking jealous thoughts, and
Yep.
everybody kind of goes relationships, but it is so refreshing to see him feeling that way and saying, I'm sorry, like it's just that I love you so much, and
Yeah.
and it's just a nice feeling. It's like, well,
Yeah.
this is great. This is what I wanted
Yeah.
when I was alone, and thinking, oh, wouldn't it be great if he was like pining over me and this and that, and when you step into it, you're like, wow, I didn't think it would feel like this, but it's very different because
It's possible.
that's how it is right now. Is he's very loving, bringing me flowers, apologizing more quickly about anything that we may have a bickering thing about, or sorry if I was like saying that too sharp or whatever, and it's just like, wow, and I can tell it's really reflective of how I feel inside, because I know my good. And even like us going to church, I was always intending for that to happen. Like, wouldn't it be nice if we went to church together as a family? Wouldn't it be wonderful if
Yeah.
he came with us to church? And I feel like that really had a lot to do with together as a family, and praying a lot, like really helped give that anxiety feeling I felt a lot. It really helped just make it float away a lot.
Yeah.
Giving it, as it says in the Bible, casting your cares. I really feel like that made a huge difference, and it took away a lot of that, you
Yes.
know, um,
Yes.
perpetuated anxiety.
Yeah.
The proverbial ball bouncing down the stairs of like a negative, and realizing it
Yeah.
and catching it before it gets too far. You're like, oh, I'm not gonna think that.
Mm-mm.
I'm gonna pray over the situation and let it go,
Yeah.
and carry on, carry
Yeah.
on. And it is tough. I mean, I remember being so sad, and just so many. I've gone through so much these past years, and yeah, it's been quite a transformation. And I can tell you, the relationship we had was
Yeah.
nothing like it was before. No arguments. We're on the same page. It's a very relaxed, peaceful, loving relationship, which is really, really what I wanted. I really did want that. And
Mm.
getting coaching from you was major key, major key. I think having somebody, you know, give you that insight, because when we run and talk to our friends, oh, I remember doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. And he did this and he said
Yeah.
that, and and nagging and complaining and bitching about it to my other friends
Yeah.
did not help. And I
No.
realized I had to stop doing that. And I had focusing and complaining on all that. And really, when I got your insight on it, I realized how much I was doing it. And I realized how much negative energy I was really putting out there. And, you know, you just like really hit the nail on the head with a lot of it. And it was like hard to hear, especially
Yeah.
the first
Yeah.
when, because, you know, when you're first getting into it, you know, it's hard to accept that responsibility. Like, oh, well, he's me pushed out. Like, well, what's that mean? You know, and
Yeah.
we are like offended by that. We're like,
Yes.
we don't want to accept that it's our responsibility. We don't want to. We want that other person to make us feel a certain way, to make us feel better, because, you know, that you should make me feel loved.
Yeah.
You should make me feel like that. We hold that other person accountable rather than holding ourselves accountable.
For sure. It is hard to hear, Amber. I agree with you. And a lot of people don't like hearing it, you know, when they come for coaching or they talk to a friend that knows about that concept. You know, it's like, well, what are you doing that's creating that? That's a very hard question to absorb, because it's a bit of a slap in the face when you first hear it.
It is a slap in the face, but you know what I realized even through, because I've been like a business owner for a long time, and I've had mentors for over 7 years, different like business mentors, coaching mentors, you know.
Yeah.
You have to be a good student and you have to hear the hard things. If you want to
Mm.
transform things in your life, you have to transform yourself, and you have to be in a constant continuing self-improvement journey. You know,
Yeah.
you have to be on a self-improvement journey.
Yeah.
And it never ends. It never ends. You know, even when you get the person back, or the
Mm.
money, or the dream job, or whatever it is that you want to get, it
Yeah.
doesn't end there. It doesn't stop there. You know, you are constantly creating and manifesting through your thoughts 24 hours a day, whether you like it or not. And it is a
Yeah.
hard thing to accept, you
That's
know, but once
true.
we accept it and learn to humble ourselves, I think that's what makes us good students, and humble ourselves and realize, okay, she's got a point. I really do need to work on this. And when we humble ourselves to that knowledge and realize that, you know, this mentor, this person, this coach knows better than I do, and
Mm.
just accept that, I think that's a key element. I think that's
Yeah.
a real key element.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
is. It
so
is. It's a real journey when you let someone else be your eyes for you about.
mhm.
Yeah, it is a real journey, because you just go, oh, you know, I have been doing that, and all of a sudden you go, I've been so focused on them having to change. Holy heck. Like, it's a bit of a wake up call, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And we're the ones that need to change. And, you know,
Mm.
I think another thing that really helped me throughout the process was having gratitude. Gratitude really changed up my feelings of, you know, anger or sadness or resentment, whatever I had going on at the time. I will remember to go back to gratitude and
Yeah.
thank God that, you know, I have hands, I have feet, I have eyes
Mm.
to see, clean air to breathe, clean water to drink. My children are healthy. I'm healthy.
Yeah.
You know, thank God for every little thing. And
Yeah.
it really changes that state of,
Yeah.
oh, you know,
Mm.
whatever feeling like life sucks, things don't work out for me, da 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 da. And, you know, those negative thoughts we may drift to when we're not feeling so good. And just having gratitude really, really, I would just keep up with my gratitude a lot. I would say, when I read The Magic by, I think, Rhonda Byrne, she's the one who wrote, you know, The Secret and helped
Yeah.
put that together. But when I read The Magic, there are like practices in there. Read it, I think, two and a half times now. Like, I will go back and forth to it
Yeah.
sometimes, and I'll highlight areas that I want to improve. Like if I'm having money issues, text it, and it's in my phone, so I have it with me in my Kindle app. And I'll go back and I'll look at the highlighted areas of like health or money or relationships or whatever.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I haven't been thankful or practicing gratitude in those areas, it does show on the
Yep.
outside of life. You know, it does
Yeah.
show. And I remember you telling me that through one of my emails, and when I was like, well, why is he, why is Bruce inviting us out to dinner, but he's just not, like, he's not continuing something that, like, why isn't he giving me more attention? Why isn't he doing this? And you were saying, stop focusing on what he isn't, and be thankful and grateful that he's, even inviting you to dinner, or
Yeah.
the slow process of seeing signs of, well, just thankful that he's even calling you, Amber. You shouldn't be trying to demand more from him and
Yeah.
focusing on what he's not giving you.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
really helped me.
Yeah.
So.
That glass half full rather than half empty thinking.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it
so
was amazing,
good.
and I just have you to thank so much for it. Really, so it's so awesome. The journey it's amazing. I mean, he brought me flowers yesterday. It was like, woo, thank you. And like and I really wanted him, because my main love language is physical touch.
Yep.
I really wanted to manifest a physical touching relationship, like him hugging me, him holding me, and he is just so much more affectionate, and it's just like fun. Like, it's great. It's a totally different relationship. It really
Mm.
is. And I just find myself in awe every day now. I'm like, this is real. This is so
Yeah.
awesome, This is so crazy.
It so is. And
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
realize that you're the one that
So
turned it around, it's like a double win, isn't it?
it's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing. Hard to believe. It is very. It's like you knew some part of yourself knew on a spiritual level that it would happen, and that you could change it through your
Yeah.
thoughts. But then when you really see it in front of you, you're like, oh my God, this
It
is so surreal. I'm
it
so
is.
grateful. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful. Yeah, I definitely have you to thank for it, because, I just feel like you really helped me, in a motherly sense. I felt like you were like my mom. I'd be like, I need help. And you just be like, giving it to me straight. I needed to hear it, and really turning my thoughts around. And, I can't thank you enough. I really can't. And like I said, it's a journey we all have to go through, but it does take work. It
Yeah.
does take self-discipline. And if you find yourself getting those thoughts, it's like meditating does really help.
Yeah.
Meditating is an amazing practice. And I really I read the Bible every day. And I may be a Christian, but I'm not a saint. I'm not perfect by any means,
Yeah.
but I do feel like when you have the spiritual intelligence and the journey you take the spiritual knowledge, and take it in and really reassess yourself, you transform, and your life
Yeah.
transforms with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And I
I
think
I want
that
to thank you again.
oh my, look, it's been such a wonderful thing to work with you and to see you get such a great result. And this didn't come in 6 weeks for you. This has been a 2 to 3 year journey of unfolding. And I think what you said about, for you, it's reading the Bible and also Neville and different things, but we need to have some spiritual food. That is really, really important to keep your mind away from trying to suck love out of people or get stuff from the outside. This is all internal. So reading the Bible, reading Neville,
Mhm.
listening to the YouTubes you mentioned during the interview, all of that is your spiritual food, and that is massively important in the results component of what you've created. You can't just look to the outside. This is an internal journey, and you need spiritual food, and that's what you continually, and you've got to maintain the spiritual food.
Mhm. Neville had said something like, um when you're trying to change stuff on the outside world, but you haven't changed what's going on in the internal world, meaning you, it's pushing up against the laws of nature. It's never
Yeah.
gonna work. And it's so funny now. My daughter, she's 6, and she's like walking around the house, the laws of nature, and so she's always saying things like that. And I know it's because I listen to Neville so often, and I'll listen
Oh,
to him putting on makeup, or before bed or whatever. And sometimes I just let it play while the kids are sleeping,
Yep.
and Bruce is always like, well, who is that? And I'm like, oh, it's this professor, and he talks about manifesting. It's really radical. And he'll be like,
Yeah.
that's cool, So we enjoy it. We
Lovely.
enjoy
Lovely.
it. We're living the end of manifesting our house together, which is something I actually was living in the end about for a long time, way before we even reconciled. I was
Yeah.
living in the end of us, having our home together, happy, warm, loving home, and walking through the house, walking through the kitchen, living in the end of that dream,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that is the next manifestation
Yeah.
we are working towards.
Lovely.
Mhm. Oh, and
Lovely.
I did share with him about the doctor and his wife,
Yeah.
the Neville Goddard story, and I had shared that with Bruce. I was like, "You got to hear this because they were trying to manifest a place and da da da." And so I get all
Good.
excited when I'm talking about it because I'm like, "You
Yeah.
see, it's real. It's real."
Yeah. Isn't that the best story?
Yeah,
It's one of the
cool.
best stories of allowing I've ever heard.
I love that story.
Me
It is
too.
really one of my favorites.
Me too.
Really one of my favorites for sure.
Yeah. I think whenever you start to doubt and you go
Yeah.
back to, they had such great pinpointed focus and they had amazing ability to not try and push it along. They really allowed it. They
Yes,
really allowed.
they did nothing.
Yeah.
They did nothing.
Yeah. And they still did nothing. It's
Yes.
fantastic. It's really fantastic.
And they still did nothing. I was like,
Yeah.
woo,
I
I love
know.
this.
It's so funny, isn't it? So funny. Oh, well,
It's
thank you
great. It's
so
great. And I
much.
really loved your book, the book Emerald City. I loved your book, Emerald City.
Oh,
It was
thank
great.
you.
Sample testing in there too. It was refreshing for sure.
Actually, you
Mhm.
know how you were talking about your daughter wanting to get a horse? I'm going to send
Yes.
you, I think it's one of my other books. I interviewed this young girl who was like 9 or 10 at the time, and she wanted a horse. And she shared her story with me. So I'm going to send you a copy so you can read it to your daughter.
Oh, I definitely will. I definitely will. And there's another book, I think this is really funny too, from the secret website. And I think it's called like Nation, I think it's called. Is that what it's called? It's like a children's book, but it's teaching them the law of attraction. And it's so funny because my son's name happens to be Henry. So, I was like, oh, that's funny, and so I plan on buying that book, just really instilling those
Yeah.
spiritual standpoints of, your imagination is powerful, and
Mm,
just really holding true to that, and
mm,
really letting them know they can create the life of their dreams. So,
yeah.
I
What
mean,
was the
I'm
name of
glad
it,
that
Amber?
we can teach them that, so young. I think it was like Henry's Imagination or something like that, but it's
Okay.
on the secret website. Like when you go on, thesecret.com,
Yep.
and they'll be like, what you want more of, and it goes through those topics. And I think the children's book is right there listed with it. So
Okay.
I just feel like that's really cool that we can teach our children that too. And so yeah, I think Phoebe would really love that. I would really love to see you know the
Yeah.
um the
Yeah.
horse video for sure. I think
Yeah.
she'd really enjoy that with the little
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. Good. I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much
Thank you.
for
Yes.
coming on here and sharing that. I think for those that have been struggling for a while, this will be a real breath of fresh air for them, because some people get it quickly,
Yeah.
other
Yeah. I
people it's
mean,
slow.
yes, it was, in essence, it was about 4 years that we were, not really together, almost four
Yeah.
years that we had been split up. So if anybody's thinking, oh, this is taking some, like, in God's perfect timing, in
Yeah.
God's timing, us forcing and pushing, and it will just, take the wheels off, as you had
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
and it will ruin the manifestation before it even started. So
Yeah.
pushing and trying to force it, is never going to work. And in God's timing, we just have to allow and accept and be grateful for the moments in the journey as we go through it, you
Yeah.
know? So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So,
Lovely.
yes, but
Lovely,
I'm
lovely,
so
lovely.
happy and I'm so thankful. Yes, I really appreciate you, Agnes. And I do, I just want to appreciate all the viewer previous interviews that I had listened to, and I was very
Yeah.
inspired by many of the interviews you did with Shiva, Seven, and all the people you interviewed that I was like, I just love listening to these interviews, and
Yeah.
so I really enjoyed them,
That's
and I'm
good.
happy to be a part of it.
Yes, now you're one of them.
Yes,
Now you're one
yes.
of them.
I know.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And it's fully hatched
Amazing. So
now.
good.
It's fully hatched.
Yes.
Yeah. All
Yes.
right, my
Thank you.
lovely.
I appreciate it.
Stay.
Yes.
Do you want to say bye to everybody, and then you and I can say bye in private?
Sure. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. I will put the links down to what Amber and I discussed in the description. And as always, I will see you in the next interview or the next YouTube.